Holy shit, 12 terrifying tales of terror.
Hey Mike, how's it going?
Listen, Matt, I love you like a brother, but if you're here to convince me to watch more Star Trek, you know, it just doesn't have the same punch that the old show does.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your quest to stop watching Star Trek. Captain Ahab has to hunt his whale.
What?
You do have books in the 24th century?
This is not about revenge.
Liar!
This is about not wasting my time anymore with this horrible show.
Mike, finish watching Picard Season 2!
No! No! I will not sacrifice any more of my time. I made too many compromises watching these horrible episodes of these shows. They've got horrible writing, ridiculous characters, and nonsensical dialogue. Now, they come out with another season of Discovery, and I watch it. They come out with another season of Picard, and I watch it. They continue to defile the name and the legacy of Star Trek, and I watch it. But I won't stand for it. The line must be drawn here, no further, and I will make them pay for what they have done.
You broke your little DVDs.
And he piled upon the whale's white hump with all the fury and anger of his race. If his chest was a cannon, he would have shot his heart upon it.
What?
Moby Dick.
Actually, I never read it.
You know, Ahab spent years hunting for the whale that crippled him. In the end, his quest for vengeance destroyed both himself and the ship.
I guess he didn't know when to quit.
Computer. Auto-destruct sequence.
Enter access code.
Initiation code 9.95.
It's been a long road getting from there to here. It's been a long time, but my time is finally here. And I will see my dream come alive at last. I will touch the sky, and they're not gonna hold me down no more. No, they're not gonna change my mind. 'Cause I've got faith of the heart, and go where my heart will take me. I've got faith to believe I can do anything. I've got strength of the soul. No one's gonna bend or break me. I can reach any star. I've got faith. I've got faith. Faith of the heart.
Oh, we're here.
You made it.
Yeah. So, we have teleported in.
For Mike Week.
Yep. This is actually, even though this is my pick, I feel like this is this is a
This
Buddy Shotz
is
pick.
my jam.
Yeah, this is something that has been a long time coming. I knew we were going to eventually talk about this movie, Star Trek, First Contact. Our lives are built on the backs of the Federation. I don't know. I don't think either one of us can deny that we're like huge fans and stuff of Star Trek. I'm like, I can't even deny it if I wanted to. Back in the day, I mean, like, I know that you had all the DVDs back in the day, and that's kind of how I learned of the movies.
Really?
I think.
Well, I wanted to ask you
mainly
what your history is with how you became a fan.
I knew of like Star Trek before in like the show, like Next Generation, because they would play it on TV and stuff, like reruns. But I didn't even know the movies existed until like, I don't know, like a little bit later. Like Then again, like, this movie came out like 1990 something, right? So
96.
Yeah. So it wasn't like, I mean, when I was growing up and stuff, when we were growing up, obviously that wasn't like something that I knew about.
Mm-hmm.
But years later, like, you had the DVDs, and I was just like, I think
For
you,
Next
like,
Generation, the series.
Yeah, and like
Yep.
the movies.
Yep.
And we watched all of them. Like, so we've got the first one, which is Generations, right?
The first one of
Yeah.
the
Right.
Next Generation crew.
Right.
Which I like, but it's not great.
Yeah.
And it still like makes me mad when I think about it, because the original pitch for that movie
Yeah.
was going to be Kirk and Picard battling each other.
Wow.
But the writers couldn't figure out a way to do it.
Do it, yeah.
And I'm like, not good enough. Like, get new writers. That would have been
Not
awesome.
only that, but like they essentially had them both in the same movie
Yeah.
anyway, so it's not like
But
they
they're only in a
abandoned the
handful of
cus-
scenes together at the end.
Yeah, it's not like they like abandoned the I don't know, the idea, but they still had it in there. It was really
I just can't believe they gave up
yeah.
on such a great idea. Like, figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, yeah.
So we had Generations, which was essentially like, we don't have any faith in like Next Generation yet, so we're gonna like tag on the old people, except for like Spock. I don't think he shows up. And which could have been like really cool and like a passing of the torch, but like I don't know how much we want to go into it, but First Contact came next, and that one like blew everybody away. I think at least it blew me away compared to going from this first one to that.
Well, this movie is what made this is what made me a fan of Star Trek.
Yeah.
Because like I'd seen a few episodes of Next Generation back in the day, and like as a little kid, my dad rented all the movies for the original crew,
Right.
and I like wasn't super into them. I was like, why are all these old people like on this adventure? Which
Also, like a lot of this stuff, if you didn't like kind of either grow up or like eventually get into it, like
well, you're just a dumb kid.
yeah, you're like younger, and it's like the movies are boring as fuck.
Yeah. But now I love each and every one of them.
I don't love every single one of them, but it's cool to see.
Yeah.
I guess.
But so
yeah.
I'll tell us a tale.
Yeah.
So I saw this First Contact with my dad opening night
Oh, nice.
at the Dayton Mall Theater, which was like, believe it or not, held hundreds of people. This was like back in the day before not every theater was a multiplex.
Yeah.
So it was like there was a line around the block,
Yeah.
blockbuster style, and it was filled with Star Trek nerds. And like the movie was one of the best experiences I've ever had seeing a movie. Like, it worked. Every joke, like the crowd was loving it, cheering. It was like our version of Spider-Man, you know, whatever the latest Spider-Man is. And it was great, and ever since then, I've been a huge fan of Star Trek.
And then they came out with Insurrection. Yeah. Pretty much like, I don't know if we'll probably agree on this, but like the best of the Next Generation ones is First Contact, and they never get any better than this. They just kind of, they have parts that are okay, but at best they're like okay episodes of the show. And a lot of the themes they have in these other, like in Insurrection and like Nemesis, are done better in the show. So, yeah, by Nemesis, it's like, oh my god, dude.
Yeah.
Then again, if you thought they were fucking like old in Nemesis, like, and if you've watched any Picard, it's like, whoa, dude. Yeah, so it's like
We choose to go to the stars.
It's like if Indiana Jones, if you thought this motherfucker was old as hell, then. But yeah, I mean, regardless, it's
with that being said, if you go back and watch First
But-
Contact now, like Picard looks like a little kid compared to like he looks so young.
Yeah, well, I mean, First Contact's also like, yeah, I guess like if you look at it, certain people, it's like, I don't know. I think like the person that kind of suffers the most from this is Deanna Troi. But
Maybe I exaggerated when I said he looks like a little kid.
it's like that one episode where he like turns into a little boy. And for some reason, I thought this was the movie where like his family gets burned alive by like Kane in a fire. But which movie is that?
Generations.
That's another reason why that movie fucking sucks.
Yeah, that's like the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
I'm like, what a real downer to start this thing out.
What a shitty film. The only thing that movie has going for it is that like Kirk and like a couple of the other dudes show up.
I really like the scene.
And what's his face? Isn't it the
not
bad
McDowell?
guy? Yeah.
Which he's not even that great in that movie.
He's not, but it's
not a great villain. But.
He's better than like the villain in Insurrection and Nemesis.
Yes, that's very true.
But yeah. So we've got a history with Star Trek.
Yeah, spoiler alert, like I love this movie,
yeah.
But I also have a huge sentimental attachment to it as well.
Well,
and I hadn't seen it in a long time, so going back to watch it, I was like, it was a joy.
It's the best of the 4, for sure. Like by far, it's like the other ones are like straight to DVD, and this one's like, and it actually feels like a theatrical film. And
I know like Red Letter Media criticizes it for like starting action Trek, but to me, I think this is the perfect balance of like action and sci-fi Star Trek. Like it,
right?
You know, you want the movies to be spectacular.
Yeah, there are parts in this film that are kind of dog shit with like what they do, but we'll get to that, and I don't think it's anything that like really ruins anything. So I guess before we get into anything like that, do you want to go over like this whole fantasy?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm like the fantasy.
It's a draft.
So I came up with this thing of like a kind of like a football draft or whatever, except for it's for Star Trek crew. Like, what's your favorite crew? And I guess you could say like, okay, so Q brings all these people together and stuff. So, so it's handpicked from like all the shows, all that kind of stuff. If you want, you could have picked from like anything.
Yeah, so. And this is not the best. This is
your
favorite.
Right?
Right?
Yeah, for sure. I just think it's funny that you had to say that. I guess maybe so people wouldn't watch this and be pissed or something. This is not the best. So, yeah. Who should we start off with first? Should we do you want to save Captain for last, or should we go Captain first and go down rank from there?
You're the captain now.
Dog.
Up to you, dealer's choice.
Oh, shit, dude. Okay, well, let's go with Captain first.
All right.
I want you to go first because you have a better... well, I guess this doesn't have anything to do with the movie, but go first.
My pick for my favorite captain is Janeway.
Nice.
Because I think she's like the ultimate combination of the greatest aspects of all the other captains. She's a great leader. She's like very decisive. But she also is like, not going to rush into things. She earns the trust of her crew, and I love her. She's awesome.
Cool.
How about you?
Do you even have to ask? You probably know who it is.
Cisco?
Yes.
Cisco's the man.
He kills a bunch of people.
He's awesome.
Yeah. He's like the captain that, like, he doesn't give a fuck. He blows up a fucking, like, dude for fucking the better of mankind. And he, like, does genocide.
Of all the captains, he's the one I would want least to mess with.
Right. Well, it's also, like...
He's a badass.
Yeah. He has, like, major fucking trauma. It's also weird because he's the only captain that actually has, like, a family dynamic through the whole show. He has a son, and his fucking wife was killed by Picard when he was Locutus aboard.
And he's also a god.
Yeah. He was a cute ass aboard.
Yeah, I love Cisco, and like he of more than the other captains will like dabble in the gray areas when he has to make things right.
Yeah, he's like, it's very funny too because he like he evolves a lot, which is really cool and stuff. And I think that's just in general a lot of stuff. Certain captains don't, but like certain it depends. I think like Deep Space Nine and Voyager and even Enterprise, like the ones that came after TNG, like the characters seem to change a lot more over time, which is what I like.
Yeah.
So let's go on to First Officer.
So I wanted to go with Chakotay, but I can't just do all Voyager. So just because I love Chakotay, he's all business, unlike Riker, who like he's probably messing around, screwing around, goofing
My
off.
only problem with Chakotay is his character sucks.
Nuh-uh. He's cool. But my real pick is...
No, I mean, like, they fucked him over.
Well, yeah.
Not that his character
arguable.
sucks. They fucking didn't... It's like they Troyed his ass.
But I'm going with Spock.
Nice!
You gotta go with the OG. Spock is one of the greatest characters ever. Everyone loves him.
Yeah.
Including me. How about you?
Excluding me. Riker.
What? That dude needs to go on timeout half the time for, like, goofing off.
How is he?
But I do like...
He's awesome.
He is. Riker's great.
He always, like, backs up and shit. I mean, I think all the best first officers... Like, I don't think there's a bad first officer. I think they're all really good. I think I love Chakotay so much that I feel like they just completely fucked him over.
I think Riker would be much more fun to hang out with than Chakotay. Like, the dude's all about having a good time. And getting the job done when it counts.
What about Engineer?
So, Engineer, I think we're probably going to go the same. O'Brien.
No.
I think he's the best. Well, really?
Yeah, I like him. For sure.
I think he also has the best relationship in Star Trek with Keiko.
Yeah, that's true.
He loves Keiko.
Well, that's the thing. Is like
stop talking
DS9.
about
They like there's so many people that have actual relationships, and it's like shocking. They come from like TNG, where there's like people exist.
But O'Brien's cool, and he also has cred because he crosses over in multiple series.
That's true. Yeah.
So,
I really like Trip from Enterprise.
Cool. I'm glad you picked someone from Enterprise because I didn't.
Charles Trip Tucker III.
He's good.
Yeah. My only complaint is they fucking murder his ass for no reason in the last episode. Yeah. But it's like Chakotay. I can't really blame Chakotay or like Trip. You know, like it's not like they wrote their fucking shit. So, what about medical?
So, my favorite medical is Dr. Pulaski from Next Generation.
Oh, nice. Is it really?
No.
Oh.
But it's a close second to the holographic doctor.
Yeah, he's my favorite.
I knew he'd be your pick.
Yeah.
He's one of the best characters in all of Star Trek.
Exactly. I agree completely. He's my favorite character on Voyager.
And speaking of evolution, like, he really evolves over the course of the series. And, like, I'll never forget the scene where the episode where he created a family for himself.
Yeah.
And then he had to, like, watch his daughter die.
Yeah.
That was, like, one of the most devastating things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And he was amazing in that.
Yeah. Yeah, he's an awesome character. I can't say enough good stuff about him. I know they bring him up whenever he's in a movie. We always talk about him. I also always talk about our man Bashir.
Yeah.
Whenever possible.
I would have picked him, but he's a little bit on the arrogant side.
He's definitely goofy. He's like a character
He
that's
is.
like he's like a Bruce Campbell kind of like, you know, fucking Daring Dragoon over here.
He's also a little bit too highfalutin sometimes.
Yeah. So what about like security?
So,
say
this may be controversial, but I'm going with Tasha Yar.
Nice.
I love Tasha Yar, and
she did a good job getting killed.
Yeah, but she's managed to show up a bunch of times after getting killed, which is cool.
That's true.
Except for, did you hear she was complaining about not being in Picard? I'm like,
yeah,
that
apparently
sucks,
same thing with fucking Wesley. He was like, they filmed some random scene for him in Picard season 2, but he's not in Picard season 3. I'm like, okay, well, I guess it's a spoiler, but like, I really wasn't hoping to see him again.
But Tasha Yar, like, she didn't even survive the first season, so like she the potential was there.
I like the character. She just didn't do shit, sadly. Like, she got reamed before. Whoops, what's mine? Well, I think we know what mine is. Odo.
Yeah, I knew you were gonna pick Odo.
He's like one of the best characters ever.
So I just watched the episode last night where he finds another shapeshifter who comes aboard Deep Space Nine and tries to convince him, like, why are you hanging out with these humanoids? Like, come with me and we'll go find our race.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the episode, like, he transforms into a mist around Kira.
Yeah.
And she's like,
yeah.
And I was like, dude, this is awesome.
He turns into a bucket and puts himself in it.
He turned into mist.
She was loving it. He became Dracula and turned into mist, and then he became a bat, and then he became a fucking wolf. It's like, what? Yeah, I remember that episode where she, like, flips out. Mm-hmm. Well, flips out. She's like, ah! Science.
I'm going with Dax.
Nice.
I think Dax is an awesome character.
Both.
Both.
And Curzon.
Yeah, all of them.
Curzon
and the one that was a murderer before Curzon.
Fucking Jeffrey Dahmer Dax. Yeah.
I love Dax. How about you?
Spock.
Nice. The OG.
Yeah. The original. I don't know.
It is cool that he played Spock over the course of like 40 years or
Yeah.
50 years almost.
Right. Yeah, it's like
That's how
he
you know it's a
shows
good
up in
character.
TNG, and then he shows up in like the Star Trek reboot as from a different universe, which is like one of the only cool ways I've ever seen that being done. It's like holy shit, dude, really cool. So what about like the entertainment / like cook / counselor, like Troy?
I'm going with Neelix,
Nice.
a character who
Yeah.
the first time I saw him, I was like, uh-oh.
I think he's a character that everybody they hate at first,
Yeah.
and then they either hate him forever or they like are like, holy shit, this guy's awesome.
He grew on me very quickly.
Yeah.
Because they give him a lot to do, and like he definitely evolves over the course of the series.
Yeah. Yeah, he evolves. He does.
He's an altered beast.
Well, we all know what I'm going to pick. Troy. No. Quark, of course.
Quark is cool.
He's like, you.
the only Ferengi character I ever liked in the whole show.
Gold press Latinum, motherfucker. Yeah, so Quark, honestly, like, if I could, I would do Quark and Neelix. Like, I'm always down to see more interesting, different-looking characters, too. I like that, like Neelix gets, like, actual evolution on that show, too, which, like, certain characters
Big time.
on Voyager don't really do anything, sadly. But, like, he's one of the characters that's, like, you know, he doesn't even make it to the end of the show. Or does he? He gets blown up and killed every episode. Dude, the one episode where he gets fucking his lungs taken or whatever. You remember that?
Yeah.
It was like horrifying. By the phage or whatever people. Dude. So, what about your favorite reoccurring character?
Oh, this one was easy for me.
You like
Loaxana Troy.
the asshole.
Loaxana.
Nice.
That's not true. I
Yeah, I
hate
know.
that character, and all of her episodes are the worst.
Even
My
though
real
she
pick-
does the voice of the computer, which is
Yes.
weird because it's completely different than like how she plays. Yeah.
My real pick is Harry Mudd,
Nice.
because he's in multiple episodes of the original series, and
he shows up in Discovery.
which was one of the things I liked about that show.
Yeah. Played by Rainn Wilson in the new version, I think.
It's a cool character, basically like a space con man.
Space commie. So I've got a 4-way tie. We got Wei-Yun, Q, Garrick, and Barkley.
Nice.
Fucking Barkley, dude.
The space loser.
The
biggest
character,
loser in
well,
the
the
history
character
of
that's
Star
actually most like a real character, like a real person.
Because he keeps messing everything
Yeah,
up.
everybody's like perfect, and he's just like
Yeah.
an actual
Oh, you're right.
human.
That is a cool character.
He's like a human. It's like Garrick is just fun character, and Wei-Yun.
I thought you were going to pick all the characters Jeffrey Combs has played in all the different series.
Wei-Yun, Brunt. Who else did he?
The dude in
Shran,
Enterprise?
Yeah, Shran. And I'm sure he played a Cardassian at some point too.
Yeah.
It was just like they just kept bringing his ass back. Okay, and now we're down to I think the villain, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, so what's your pick in all of Star Trek for the best villain?
I don't know why I always keep going back to this, but it's Armus from Next Generation episode or season 1, the dude that killed Tasha Yar. It's such a cool character.
Your favorite character, fucking
Armus.
Tasha Yar, and the person that killed her is your favorite character.
Well, I think like not very many villains have killed an actual crew member, so
Yeah.
you get additional props for that. Like who else has killed Gul Dukat killed Dax,
Yeah.
basically by proxy, right?
Yeah, that's my pick. Gul Dukat, the
forgot.
best villain in all of Star Trek.
He unleashed that demon that
Yeah.
killed Dax.
He unleashed his demon. He's like, "Ugh." He became fucking Brock Lesnar, the beast incarnate. He was fucking F5 and dudes and shit. No, Gul Dukat is like a realistic villain because he's essentially like a Nazi that survived the Holocaust war trials and stuff and is like still being a bastard.
Yeah.
And like, you know, you could say, oh, there's glimmers that he's a good guy, and it's like Gul Dukat is a fucking bastard.
But that's what-
he's using that to fucking trick your ass.
But he's so good, and
Yeah.
sometimes you think, wait, do I
Yeah,
like
maybe
this
it's
guy?
just got.
Yeah,
It's
he's
not.
okay.
Yeah, it's not like fucking Garrick or like even Damar, or it's like, you know, they're redeemable and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this guy is like like Hitler Jr. over here. Like, he is fucking a piece of shit. Like you said, he kills fucking, like, Dax with that fucking, like, you know,
space ghost,
orb of hell or something. So yeah, that's a good list regardless, man. It's so good. So Gul Dukat and Armis team up and kill Dax and fucking Tasha Yar. They killed 2 of the dudes on your fucking list. They're like, no.
Who else has killed Malcolm McDowell killed Kirk, kind of. Which, that's pretty lame.
Yeah,
Who
but
killed Picard?
That was like by proxy, wasn't it? It was like he fucking...
Yeah, he just fell off a cliff.
Yeah. And then like Spock got killed by like radiation or some shit.
Mm-hmm. He sacrificed
it wasn't
himself.
really like... Nobody really killed...
Who killed Trip? I forget.
It was just like some random explosion or some shit.
Unbelievable. He
was fighting like these dudes and trying to save like Shran's daughter or something in the last episode and got blowed the fuck up. And Data gets fucking reamed at the end of Nemesis, but
he sacrificed.
He just sacrifices himself. Like, he doesn't. It's not like he fights Picard fucking mini-me and fucking gets killed.
Cass killed herself.
Yeah.
She was just like, see you later, series.
Yeah.
I'm out of here.
Fucking, I guess what's-his-face kind of dies in fucking, what's it called? Like, the third movie? Fucking, where he blows up in that, like, machine. Him and Picard are, like, fighting in it, Rialfo or whatever. And, like, the thing blows up and he gets fucking... He's, like, in space and he blows up. Fucking in, Insurrection at the end. But that...
One of the crew members?
No, like, the bad guy.
Yeah.
Like, he fucking dies. I'm trying to think of people that just die, but I can't think of anybody that's been, like, directly killed by somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm sure there are times when people have been phasered and shit, but, like... that one dude in the episode where he captures Data... And he's like, you're my toy now. Doesn't he, like, fucking kill that fucking lady?
Yeah, but that's just a red shirt. I'm talking, like, main
No,
crew
he kills
members.
an actual... Oh, okay. Well, she's not a red shirt. It's a fucking person. But, yeah, it's not a main person, I guess.
You only get true cred by killing a series lead.
Doesn't What's-His-Face fucking die in Voyager? Like, his alternate version?
Riker?
No, Harry Kim.
Mm-hmm.
But... I don't think anybody kills him. I think he just, like, gets sucked out of a fucking hole or something. That is so weird, though, in Voyager, because they do so many, like, time things and, like, alternate universe things in that show that, like, a lot of episodes they do, like, the thing where, like, it was actually a different crew or, you know, something like that. So, yeah. I don't think anybody on TNG fucking dies, do they?
Not after Yar.
Yeah. Pulaski just disappears. So,
well, should we get into the next topic? Got a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah. Let's go on to Star Trek Strange New Worlds. The show that neither of us had watched and weren't exactly sure if we wanted to watch. But, this is done by, like, the new regime, and it takes place, like, with Christopher Pike, Ensign Mount as Christopher Pike, who's, like, the dude that precedes Kirk in the original series. And I guess it just kind of picks up from something that happened on Discovery that I never saw. But essentially they give him his own show, and he's like, I saw my future, and I'm fucking turning to, like, a burned bacon or whatever. He's, like, fucked up. He's like, I saw my own death and shit. So, yeah. I don't know, what'd you think?
Well, the first minute when it started off with another insipid narration, I was like about to turn it off. But I'm glad I didn't, because after that stupid narration was over, it was good.
Yeah.
I liked it. It was kind of a basic bitch Star Trek episode.
Yeah.
About the Prime Directive, but you know,
that's essentially like half the original episode. So.
But yeah, I mean, it's definitely got potential after watching the first episode, for sure. It wasn't a train wreck like Picard and Discovery had become.
My biggest issue with it, and I knew that this was kind of going to be how it was going in, but, like, there's so much reliance on like the original show that it's like at the end of the first episode, like Kirk shows up with a mustache. Like, here's Lieutenant Kirk. So it's like, okay, well, here's him. He's going to take over. And you've got Uhura's already on the show. And, like, essentially is like, are they just going to, like, keep this going until, like, they redo original Trek again? Like, yeah. So it was cool, I guess, saying that. But it was also kind of like...
I hear you. I agree.
I was kind of...
Do your own thing.
Right. Anson Mount as, Pike is, like, really what I was wanting to see, and it was pretty legit.
I'll tell you one thing. He gives a huge monologue at the end of the show.
Yeah.
And, like, it's very corny.
Yeah.
But, man, it takes a great actor to deliver something like that and not, like, make it cheesy.
Right.
It was great. Like, he was so good. I was blown away by that monologue, man.
Yeah, it's like him. Like, yeah.
Props.
No, I completely agree. Like, it's kind of
he's, like, so committed.
Yeah, it's like Picard. Like, a lot of the speeches he just randomly starts giving, it's like, why wouldn't somebody just be like, why the fuck are you saying this? But because it's delivered with conviction.
We can all look to the stars for answers.
It's like, I'm gonna, when good people do nothing, it's like, why is this guy fucking giving a speech right now? But because it's so... like you said, delivered, like...
Man, it was good.
With, like, conviction, too. It's not like people are going to question him, but...
That's not an easy thing to do, I think.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
It was awesome. The highlight of the episode for me.
Yeah, for sure. What'd you think about Spock not wearing a shirt? They had to, like, shoehorn in more, like...
I just said Spock was a great character, but, like, enough with Spock in these shows. Like, get some... Like, come on, enough.
Yeah. My thing is, like, they started doing this since Voyager, where they're like, they add in, like, the really sexy stuff with, like, 7 of 9 and stuff, and it's just gotten out of control, where it's like, now, like, fucking Spock was over here, like, gonna fuck his girlfriend, and, like, I thought it was kind of cute that she, like, proposed to him, like, okay, this is kind of cute, like, I guess that's maybe how Vulcans do it, but, like, it was like... Fucking Anson Mount gets on the TV and he's like looking like Grizzly Adams over here with this beard, and he's like, "Hey Spock, I'm sorry I fucking stopped you from having Pon Farr, but we gotta go save this one random dude." And he's just like, "Okay, well, I'm not gonna fuck my wife now. See ya." And she's just like, "Do not let this happen again." And he's like, "I will not." Nanu.
Spock, are you naked?
Yeah. He's like, "I am not. From the waist down, I am wearing garments." And I'm like, nice delivery of fucking robotic talk. Apparently, like, the officer that's the first officer, did you catch that? I think the name was, like, something to do with Noonan's song or something?
Yeah, I did.
And I think...
Again, does every character have to be related to every old character?
It's, like, apparently, fucking, they're taking, like, the Star Trek approach, or Star Wars approach, where, like, every character is fucking related. Or, like...
Who's Ray's parents? Who cares?
That's a whole nother situation. My thing is, like, I would have been okay with it, I think, more if, like, they hadn't had a president throughout the entire series of every other show of Noonan and Sung kind of, like, showing up and stuff. Like, here's his predecessor, and he's been working on, like, first cloning, and then, like, manipulation, like, and then, like,
at this point we've seen, like, 10 generations of this
dude.
Of
the same dude played by fucking Brent Spiner. But it's like, apparently she's like a clone or one of his experiments. It was like all this other shit happened to her, and I don't know. But it's like you said, it's like we've got all these dudes fucking that are either related to other people or they're like, I don't know, like young Uhura. It's like, okay, like that's cool, but I don't know. Yeah, we already talked about Kirk with a mustache, which I was like, what the fuck? Pike sees a freaking mummy. What'd you think about that? When he sees his future, and he's just like, what is he looking at? And like later on, you find out he's like, Spock, I found out when I'm gonna die, and he's just like, that's good. And he's like, you son of a bitch. They're essentially like, I can't believe you'd be so cold, and he's like, it would be great to know when you die and stuff. And he's like, get busy living or get busy dying. What? So, I think it's cool for a character to have that kind of like trauma and stuff.
Yeah.
So to be, I don't know. I'm on the fence about watching more of this. I'm not sure, like, mainly because it's treading so much into like original series. That I'm kind of like, but
we'll see. I might.
Yeah, it's a good enough like
someday.
Yeah, it's a good enough like show. It didn't like the dialogue and everything wasn't like offensive. I wasn't like, what the fuck is this?
It didn't make me sick like Picard.
Right? Or just wonder why they're calling it Star Trek.
Yeah.
So, are you ready to get on to like the main feature? It's
the main event.
It's been a long time. Star Trek First Contact in 1996. Pick up sticks. So this movie was directed by one-take Frakes over here.
Yeah,
Jonathan Frakes. So
killing it.
Apparently they were like, hey, you know, who are we going to get to direct this film? And people were dropping out. And then they were like, let's just get somebody that like knows Trek. And so they got Jonathan Frakes. So continuing with some of the best Trek movies actually directed by the actors themselves. So it's the 8th film in the Star Trek film series, the second to star the cast of TNG. In the film, the crew of the USS Enterprise traveled back in time from the 24th century to the 25th century to stop the cybernetic Borg from conquering Earth by changing their past. So yeah,
Borg sounds sweet.
Borg. I didn't know this, but like apparently like originally this was going to be the Borg, or like them traveling back in time to like the European Renaissance, but changed the time period that the Borg corrupted to the mid 21st century after fearing the Renaissance idea would be too kitsch. And then they just kind of like eventually, apparently they want to do one was like they want to do
that
Borg.
That sucked, dude.
Yeah, and one would, because that just is like something Q would do, just send them back to like fucking yeah. But what was I gonna say? Oh, but like one was like a time travel thing, and one was like a Borg idea, and then they just put them together, and I was like, dude, that's how you fucking do it. Like,
I agree.
Take the two best ideas and make them work.
And everyone like, well, a lot of people make fun of the time travel aspect of Star Trek, but some of the best episodes and movies have time travel in them, so I'm fine with it.
Time travel is always legit.
It's cheesy, but it works.
Like
it's a good device.
The Future is like one of the best films ever made, and nobody complains about that. So shit the poop. I was just thinking about like when Q sent him back in time, but he like sent him back in time to like Robin Hood, and like Robin Hood doesn't even exist.
One of the silliest episodes.
Does he? Like it wasn't even a real guy. Don't get mad at me, England. So from the very beginning, this film delights. So we start off with the Paramount old school logo and like the TNG theme into like the awesome theme that this film has.
Yeah, I texted you like this theme is so good. I was tearing up like just hearing it, a minute of it.
It's also like the first time I read that, I thought it said tearing up, and I was like, what?
I'm like, yeah. But I mean, Jerry Goldsmith is a Star Trek hero. Mm-hmm. Like he wrote the themes for Next Generation, Voyager, Deep Space Nine, a lot of the movies, including this one. He's a legend. But this might be one of my favorites. It's so good.
Oh man, this tea is weird. So
then the opening shot,
is
so cool.
Yeah, zoom out of Picard in a Borg cube and station amongst a ton of others. Before this, they have like a bunch of bland text credits on black bluish background. When I was watching this again, I was like, man, it would have been really cool to see like maybe like not clips, but maybe like kind of like how they did in like I think the second Spider-Man movie that Sam Raimi did, where like they had like a kind of like paintings of recaps of like the biggest moments from Star Trek: The Next Generation, the show. Like that would have been really cool to see, like, you know, because this music was so cool, but really the credits were kind of just words coming in.
Yeah.
And it would have been nice to see that, but it's not something that takes away from it. It's just when I was like, if I would have like edited this, I'd be like, man, can we get like something in here that would get the, you know, everybody like, holy shit, they care. But it's shown in other ways.
Speaking of credits, like I watched that movie Tar with Cate Blanchett that's getting all like the Oscar nominations and stuff, and they did one of the biggest FUs I've ever seen. They put the end credits at the beginning of the movie. So you watch the whole credits for like 5 minutes before the movie starts.
That's how they used to do it.
Dude, Mike would have killed himself if he had to sit through those. You would have been so pissed.
I would have been like...
You would have walked out of the theater.
I walked out of my house. Fucking, I am a cute ass of Borg over here. Fucking...
How long did it take you to...
Look cute as a Borg or whatever. What does he actually say? You probably could do it better than I can. Like, what is his... When he says...
Locutus.
Locutus, okay. It's not cute ass. So a drill...
That was his Borg name.
Cute ass. So a drill pushes into his eyeball, Superman bullet style.
That was gross.
He's got a strong ass retina. So Picard has like a double dream nightmare over here, you know, as you do in horror films.
Yep.
Which this movie is really cool because it's like 1/4 horror, like science fiction, like action. So I'd say like a half science fiction, 1/4 action, and 1/4 horror. Because the horror
with a lot of comedy sprinkled in.
Right.
It's like the perfect stew.
Yeah. I didn't remember this part at all, but like in the beginning, he does like an actual captain's log, and I was like, does he fucking do this at any of the other movies? Like, I don't remember that at all.
I don't remember.
Like, this seems like the one that's the most like the actual show, which is probably why it's like the best movie. Because even though there is like, yeah, a lot of like, there is some action and stuff in it, like, you know, whatever. Like, this is as close as you get, which is good. And I was kind of like freaking out about that when he was doing the captain's log, so I was like, holy shit. So their mission is fucking to patrol the neutral zone, just in case the Romulans decide to take advantage. Like, aren't we another Cardassians at this point? Like, fuck off. They kept bringing up the Romulans, and I'm like, dude, I'm sick of this shit. Geordi's cool fucking eye contacts, though, are legit. Like, I think these really just show up in, like, the movies, and then, like, they're not, I guess, like, something they really did other than that, so. But they're really cool.
Yeah, I agree. I'm glad they did that. Like, it's ironic that, like, LeVar Burton has, like, some of the most expressive eyes of any actor ever.
And they're covered.
And they covered them up for the entire series.
Yeah.
So, he was due to see his baby blues.
Yeah. It's really cool. And they all have, like, new uniforms in this, too. They're closer to the, like, DS9
They're on
uniforms.
a new Enterprise since Troy crashed the last one. Women drivers, am I right?
Yeah. And there's no fucking seatbelts.
That was a joke, by the way. I'm kidding.
I am deadly not serious. So Picard is listening to opera, and Frakes just appears like a mafioso in the fucking background, like, horrifying. Let's just say Starfleet has every confidence with the Enterprise and her crew. They're just not sure about her captain. So the whole thing here is that, like, the Borg are fucking attacking Earth finally, and Picard isn't being brought in because he was captured and, like, essentially killed, like, Sisko's wife and a bunch of other people due to his actions of, like, giving them all the fucking, like, info, because he was so high up. He's like a captain. It's like the only people that are higher than that are, like, admirals and, like, the president. And, like, yeah, it's just something that kind of went through the show, and then he kind of had to live with it and stuff. But in this, they decide to not bring him in, even though he's got all this, like, information on the board. But then they show up in, like, freaking wreck house. Like, he shows up and he's like, okay, everybody, I'm taking control of the fleet because everybody's getting reamed, and I'm gonna fucking, like, fire on this one spot, and they all do it, and fucking it's like, okay, could have saved, like, billions of lives. Well, probably not billions, but there were billions of people on those ships.
That's a cool battle.
Oh yeah, it's really, really cool.
A lot of it, like, they are still using models
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of CGI in this movie too, but
Right.
the special effects are very good.
Yeah, really good.
They're done by ILM, so they're like top
Yeah.
notch.
So Data says, Captain, I believe I speak for everyone here when I say, to hell with our orders.
And everyone in the theater cheers. Woo!
Wow. Something Data would totally say.
When he has his emotion chip turned on.
But shows no emotion. Yeah, that's something you kind of find out is that like halfway through this, he has his emotion chip installed. Which I guess we'll get to that, but we got to give a shout out here to the Defiant, piloted by just Worf, and there's no Kira, Dax, Odo, Cisco, Brian, or our man Bashir.
They're like, you got this, Worf.
Yeah. That's always been like the one thing I was like, damn, dude, I just want to see. It'd be so cool to see them at least like in the movie. Because sadly, Voyager and Deep Space Nine or even Enterprise, they never got a film. So, they've got this really cool like time travel Borg thing going on here, where like they're like, okay, well we're screwed, so we're gonna send this little like Borg like egg back into time, and like they get into the little displacement field and they see like Earth turn like completely like brown and like gray, and they're like,
Becomes a Borg world.
yeah, they're like, all these fucking life signs are Borg, and like Data like is like, holy shit, I'm making a face about it, and he's flipping out, and freaking it's really cool because they give a reason why. They're like, oh, we're in the displacement field, so that's why like we're not affected or like turned into Borg or don't exist or whatever. And so then they follow him back to the past to correct what they're trying to do, which turns out
Terminator style.
Yeah, to stop for them to, and they blow up the little egg, but like they find out it's too late to what has happened. And yeah, it's good stuff, man. From there, we're off to the races.
Very true.
Fucking, you find out that they're shooting down at the ground, and they're wondering why they're doing it, and they're trying to kill Zephyr Cochrane and stop like first contact.
Played by James Cromwell,
Yes.
a.k.a. Babe's dad.
Yeah, Babe Dad.
I love him in this movie.
Yes,
It's probably my favorite thing he's ever
He's got,
done.
like,
Although Babe is pretty
the
darn
best
good,
costume. His the costumes and everything in this movie is so good.
too. This is one of the it's so clever. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he's basically a hero, and when they go back and actually meet him, he's like
Yeah.
a huge
He's
mess.
he's just a
grew up.
guy. Yeah, he's just like,
He's like has a lot of weaknesses.
right,
It's like if you went back and met
Yeah.
George Washington and he was like kept screwing up,
right.
you know.
It's like a real person.
Yeah.
Like everybody, if you were to go back in time and meet anybody, you would find out they're a lot different than like who they're really portrayed in history, because the people that make it into the history books get embellished and stuff, and you find out like, oh, actually this person didn't do this person did, but this person's in the history books for it. It's like you were saying.
And his motives, his intentions were
Or to
not
get
to
rich.
like help humanity.
Yeah.
He's like, I want to go to an island with naked women.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Which is like, how's that going to work out in the apocalypse?
But it's such a cool
Yeah.
idea for this movie. I love it.
It's really cool too, because in the Enterprise you see him when he's a lot older in the 1st episode, and it's like he's essentially taken on that role of like the dad of like everybody. So he's like, come here.
I watched the Siskel and Ebert review. They both really liked this movie, and they especially praised him for like a great performance.
I forgot Crusher actually does stuff in this film, and they actually like gave a shit to give her something to do, which a lot of times like
What's she do? She like leads people away from danger or something?
she like goes down to the planet and like actually does medical shit, and then when she goes back up and they're cut off, yeah, she like is in the, but it's like it's such a far cry away from like, I don't know, like
Nemesis, where like she might as well
Yeah.
not be in the movie.
the worst characters on TNG are fucking Troy and Crusher, because they literally give them nothing to do most of the time. And any episode that's involving them is usually like horrible, like because they just don't know how to write for women, it seems like. So they're starting to figure out that maybe something's a little off because like the environment's like getting warm. They're like, what's going on here? We've got Marina Sirtis as Marina Sirtis in this movie.
Slam.
Yeah. I think this is the evolution of No Troy. So, I do have that Crusher's friend from TNG is in this film. Alyssa Ogawa from the episode Lower Decks, where like she got promoted to like lieutenant and their one friend died or whatever. It was like essentially an episode about 4 people that were like just lower in the chain and how they interact with like the actual like higher up people.
I didn't catch that.
And like she's like the Asian lady that was like helped escape with what's it called, like when the Borg start like trying to get the fuck in. So then this is where they like Picard's like, wait a minute, what exactly is the temperature? And he's just like a Borg cube. So
he knows.
He finds
they're in
out,
trouble.
like, holy shit. They have some cool scene where like Data encrypts a computer, and they do like a fast forward. Brent Spiner's hand goes fucking ape shit on the stuff.
The stuff with the Borg on this is probably like some of the most effective like horror stuff in all Star Trek.
They also had like
very well done.
They had so much more money too to like make the effect where it like slowly takes over the person in real time, whereas like in the shows usually it's like
you just paint them white. Yeah,
they're like they get assimilated and then like the next shot they're fully a Borg. There's no like transformation. And then we've got Robert Picardo's the holographic doctor scene where he shows up and they activate his ass, and it's fucking like the best thing ever.
Your favorite scene in the movie?
Probably honestly. But he shows up.
They basically send him to his death.
Yeah,
they give him a death sentence.
Yeah, they're like,
to buy a few seconds.
Please state the nature of the medical emergency, and they're like, I need you to like create a diversion, and then he's just like, this isn't part of my program. I'm a doctor, not a doorstop. And
I'm a doctor, not slunk meat.
Yeah. He's like, according to Starfleet medical research, Borg implants can cause severe skin irritations. Perhaps you'd like an analgesic cream. And then that's when they're like, you never see him again. So.
That's hilarious. R.I.P. the doctor.
Yeah. One of many doctors. Why wasn't it Andy Dick, though, at this point?
Yeah. Can you imagine if Andy Dick showed up in this movie?
That would have been hilarious. I'd been like, what? It just shows that both of them show up and they're just arguing. The Borg's like,
that was not one of my favorite episodes.
Yeah.
It was fine.
So they instantly lose sight of the lady from the past, Lily.
Played by Alfre Woodard.
Yes.
What did you think of her in this movie?
She's legit.
Yeah, she's really good. It's a cool character. Basically, if you introduce a normal person from today into Star Trek and what would happen.
It's essentially something they've done many times in Star Trek, like in TNG alone.
And the original series, too.
Picard should have read like the Declaration of Independence to everybody, even though they would have been like, we know. Like when Kirk does that to that alien species, and they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? Worf states a stupid observation. Lieutenant Commander Data says, excellent idea, plasmic coolant will liquefy organic material in contact. Worf says, but the Borg are not entirely organic. And like then Picard's like,
he's like, shut up, Worf.
He's like, true, but cybernetic life forms, they can't survive without the organic components. And he's just like,
once again, Worf is wrong and then put in his place by everyone else.
Being a dumb asshole.
It's funny, neither of us mentioned him as our favorite security.
Because all he does is he just gets thrown around all the time. It's like, yeah, it shows that, like, if somebody had done that to a human instead of Worf, they'd be dead. But, like, they never show that first. So it's literally Worf is just being assaulted by every fucking alien that shows up.
Shut up, Worf.
It's like, cool. Love how this essentially Star Trek zombies in this. Mm-hmm. It's really, they do, like you said, horror so well.
Yeah, it's really well done.
It's well.
I want to talk about my favorite scene and your least favorite scene, the bar scene with Troy, who had to drink with James Cromwell. What did you think of that?
I think that, like, he deserves a fucking, like, Oscar for putting up with this shit.
I think it's funny. We disagree on this one, but I understand your stance. I just think it's funny.
I don't understand any humor in it.
And I love Riker's reactions, too. They're great.
Yeah. Right. If it was like, yeah, because she says timeline, this is no time to talk about time. We don't have the time. I was like,
doing your favorite drunk acting.
Should I just turn this off now?
I love it.
I don't understand it. It just doesn't make sense because it's like...
It's silly.
Yeah.
It's just silly.
It's like they couldn't find an actual thing for her to do, so they're like, just act like a complete fucking idiot. She's like, I'm not acting.
Jesus.
I don't hate Marina Sirtis, and I don't dislike her. I just think that, like, her character was given very little to do on the show, which sucks because she started off so strong. Like, I like the idea of, like, a telepathic, like, counselor, and how far would you go with that, like, get invasive with thoughts and stuff, but, like, they very quickly just throw that aside and don't really use it, and they kind of don't, you know, ever explore the gray area in the show. They're just like, well, let's just have her be, like, a love interest for, like, Frakes or, like, Worf for one season randomly, like you said last week, and it was like, I don't know. They could have done better for her. So that scene goes on, and James Cromwell is just like...
I love that. So he
doing some hilarious...
loves rock and roll.
Yeah. That's the best part of that scene is when he's dancing.
Like, doobie doobie.
And it's, like, over. Frakes is like...
This is perfect.
It's almost like a scene that, like, it wasn't in the script, almost.
They didn't know they were rolling cameras?
Well, no, they knew they were rolling cameras, but they... If somebody wrote that script, it's like, what the fuck? So Data is scared. He has his emotion chip on. Which... Why the fuck would you have it on? Like, it makes, like, zero sense to me. Like,
he wants to experience human feelings.
He wants to be an idiot.
He turned it off when he got scared.
Yeah, after Picard told him to turn it off. Picard's like, hey, Data, you know you're a fucking android. Why don't you just turn that shit off? And he does, and he's like, Data, sometimes I envy you. And I'm like, holy shit, he's fucking scared. It was horrifying, though, to see him, like, fucking scared. It was just kind of...
Yeah.
It's one of those things where, like, oh, I have my emotion chip on, but, like, nobody knew about it till now. I'm like, holy shit. ADR, Picard off screen says, the manual release. They show, like, a fucking door, and it's, like, between two shots of them actually all talking, and it shows just a door, and he says, the manual release. And I was like, dude, this is awesome. Ready phasers as Worf just kills a dude by rifle whipping him. That was awesome. Data breaks a Borg's neck. This was something I never noticed until, like, I don't know how many times I've seen this film, but this latest time. All this shit's going on, and, like, some dude tries to, like, climb up a ladder, like, to escape, and a Borg just pulls him down, and then he starts going up the ladder. It's like, no, me, I'm telling. It's like like some play fucking ground antics.
My turn.
Yeah, I was like, what is this? But it was just funny, because he was just like, so Picard says, don't let them touch you. And, yeah, they touch a dude, and he gets turned into a fucking instant, like, you know, zombie or whatever. Instant lynch or whatever. Gets fucking terminated. And then Data gets captured, and he gets turned into, like, an action playset. Because he's got, like, the thing here that they, like, are messing with, and he's, like, down on the thing. The Borg are essentially, like, trying to, like, turn him into, like, more human so they can sway him with emotions. We already talked about Cochrane having an awesome wardrobe and did a great job with the costumes, effect, music. All feels very Trek and makes the Borg scary. Like they should have stayed. Astronauts on some sort of Star Trek.
I love
Cochrane.
that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people think that's lame, but I think it's so funny.
I think it's...
You guys are on some kind of Star Trek.
Yeah. The way he says it is actually, like,
perfect
acceptable.
Delivery.
Yeah. Other lines, like, it's my first ray gun.
Love it. To me, all the humor in this movie slays.
Most of it.
Yeah.
Borg Queen is all lubed up or something.
What'd you think of Alice Krieg as the Borg Queen in this movie?
So I've got like a thing on here. It's kind of like The Neighbors, where I don't, after seeing it this latest time, it's like I love her, and I love her as the Borg Queen. But I'm kind of on the fence about the whole idea of a Borg Queen in general.
Yeah, I understand that.
Like, on one hand, she's like played awesome, and she does such a great job of being this like, you know, she's fucking like the whole Borg thing is like gross and scary, but it's like she's like they make her like sexual and sensual enough to be like, oh, maybe I would have sex with this robot. But on the other hand, it's like it takes away from like the Borg being this faceless, unreasonable like horror force, and I think it kind of, sadly, I think that's what kind of ruins the Borg in the end, on like Voyager and stuff. And like the more they kind of do that, but I like the character. It's just I think it kind of, sadly, a byproduct of that is that they use it and it turns into like something that kind of what they did with Alien and Aliens and all this stuff, where they eventually kind of, you know, I don't know. Not that the Alien Queen is like an issue. I'm saying like the more they...
No, you said it. I 100% agree with everything you just said. But I love Alice Krieg because like she's great in this movie, and she's very good at playing this kind of character in other movies. Like, I'm terrified of her, but attracted to her at the same time. Like, she's a master of being able to do that.
The master of murder.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because this character is awesome, but I look at this point as to when the Borg start to... It's funny because they've never been scarier, really. Like, so they were scary in the first episode they show up in. They even have the music like with Q and everything, where it's like, you know, it's like horrifying. Like, we are about to be fucking savaged and shit, and like this is horror music that they're using in that episode, and it's so scary. And the only other time, like the next time where it's really, you know, kind of like the next time they ratchet it up is this, with like the effects and everything. But yeah, like the Queen is kind of like the beginning of the end of it being actually like scary. Because once you put a face to something and then it starts striking deals, then it's like, okay, this character is just another alien race that we interact with. And in fact, they do.
And she turns into a millennial in Picard.
Yeah. And in Voyager, she essentially is just like, they're always like making best friends with them. It's like, okay. So then we go into the Dixon Hill program.
Another great scene.
Yeah. Guess who we have here, Matt? You'll never guess. Do you know? Are you gonna guess? Do you know who this is?
Who? Your boy Neelix.
Yep. How'd you know? He's uncredited.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
But Ethan Felix plays like the nightclub maitre d'. He's uncredited in the film, but as soon as I saw him, I was like, wait a minute.
That's a cool touch.
Yeah. I never really realized that till this time.
I didn't either until I started watching Voyager.
Yeah, because I didn't watch Voyager.
I know who this guy is now.
So we've got two dudes from Voyager in this movie and the Defiant from DS9, which is awesome.
Too bad O'Brien didn't make it.
Yeah, seriously. Which sucks because O'Brien could have came with Worf because he was in TNG, so that's where he came from. Like,
he was too busy hanging out with Keiko.
Yeah, he was too busy on a better show. Picard Tommy guns these Borgs like hardcore.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And then he's going to beat their dead bodies with a gun.
Yeah. It's like
turn it down a notch, Picard.
Whoa, Scotty's like...
You're scaring us.
He's like starting to...
Was he just going to hammer the corpses?
I mean, what was the point? I didn't get it. I was like, what? You just killed him. Like, he's like, oh!
Overkill. It's like fatality.
And then he's like looking for a neuroprocessor and starts digging into like the Borg's stomach or crotch. And I'm like, why aren't you looking in its head? Isn't that where a neuro thing would be? He's like, oh, I found it right here in the patch. So Ensign Lynch gets reamed. And then we've got Barclay showing up. Dwight Schultz of the A-Team fame here. He comes over to like Cochrane is just like, hey man, can I shake your hand? And he's just like, yeah, he finally does. And like Geordi is a fucking idiot and like starts talking about how Cochrane is going to be like the greatest thing ever, and he's like already like not, you can tell, you know, like any reasonable person would have like noticed this, but like Geordi has no like social fucking
he's too excited because he's meeting his hero.
But it's like that's how he was in all those episodes, like when he tried to date that holographic fucking woman and then he met her in real life and he had like no fucking game. It's like, dude, fucking Christ,
he's a nerd.
This guy's just as bad as Barkley.
What do you expect?
But like
he went to Zephram Cochrane High School.
That's true. He tells him that, and then he tells him, "Oh, you're standing right where the fucking statue is," and all this other shit. And he's just like, well, I gotta go take a leak." And he's like, "I'm not detecting any leak." And he's just like, "Don't you people pee in the 24th century?" And he's like, "Oh, leak. That's hilarious." Ah, ha, ha. And he's just like, "Okay, dude, you're a fucking wiener."
He's like, "I'm going out of here to sip on my flask."
And then later, Riker's like, "You fucking told him all that shit, you idiot." And he's just like, "Well, I didn't think it would be a big deal." And he's like, "Well, where is he?" He's like, "Well, he fucking ran for the border." Like,
they have to shoot him.
Yeah. And he like falls in a river and drowns. He's like, they're like, well, we should probably pick him up, but yeah. So old Reggie, his body is ready. So like, I like how the magnetic sound is a suction cup plungers when they're like when they go out for the spacewalk.
Yeah,
it's like.
I love that scene too. By the way,
yeah.
It's a very cool action scene.
So while this is going on, like Data gets skin put on his arm and he gets scratched and he's like, ah! And like he had never felt pain before, and they're all just like, they leave him alone.
It is upsetting to see him like being scared and like basically tortured in this movie.
He's like, I was upset. So how long has it been since he had sex with your girl Tasha Yar? Because he states it, 8 years, 7 months, 16 days, 4 hours, and 22 minutes since Data fucked.
And it's so nerdy because that was the exact amount of time like between when that episode aired and when this movie came out.
Well, that's good. That's how it should be.
Yeah. They did the research.
Yeah. He didn't like account for like him going back into the past. He's like, well, technically, since we're in the past, it hasn't happened. So the Borg gets shot and flies into space. I'm like, I hope they like beam that corpse back later, or it could be like discovered in this time and like retroed. But
very true.
Then again, throughout Star Trek, there's like many times of like, oh, these Vulcans landed on like Earth and like just lived their entire lives, like, or like the time when they found like fucking the head of Data in the past in like Wild West times. So Worf, after his gun like fucks up or he can't use it anymore, he pulls out a random mek'leth, which is like this knife, and slices off like the Borg's arm. It's really cool. They give him some cool stuff to do here, which I was happy about.
I can tell you when he says assimilate this and blows him away, like the theater was losing their minds. It was awesome.
Like they all turned like stupid and shit their pants.
They did.
Nice. A bunch of ambulances had to take everybody. So one Borg just grabs Hawks, who is played by who is that guy?
Neil McDonough.
Yes.
The bad guy from Walking Tall.
Yeah.
With The Rock.
Great movie.
And he's also in Ravenous.
Yeah. So he just grabs him and takes him like a bride over the threshold to hell. It's like he just picks him, you know what I mean? He picks him up like a bride. And then for some reason he, like, as a Borg, Lieutenant Hawk as a Borg comes back. The other Borg never does. And then he starts going Rocky on Picard. Which I thought was hilarious. Like, I've never seen a fucking Borg punch somebody. They usually are, like, trying to assimilate them, or they're trying to, like, maybe shoot them or something. Like, this dude just starts going, like, hand-to-hand on him. So, it's a really cool reveal, though, because he comes back and he's, like, puts his hand on his shoulder and he's, like, faces the camera and you see, like, the stuff on him. It's like, holy shit. Ah! Yeah! I'm like, Kevin! And then, like you said, like, he's like, fuck assimilation, I'm gonna TKO this old bastard. Yeah, and the line you said, assimilate this, and it blows up the array. It's like, dude. It's so cool because they gave Worf that line.
Yeah.
And I could have seen them giving that to Picard, but he already has so much cool shit. It's like, it was so cool that they decided to give
He finally
everybody
gets
something.
a heroic moment.
Yeah. So, Commander William Riker says, someone once said, don't try to be a great man, just be a man, and let history make its own judgments. And Cochrane says, that's rhetorical nonsense. Who said that? And then, I would say William Riker, but it was Jonathan Frakes said, you did, 10 years from now.
He was like, fooled you again?
I love Frakes.
You did.
I'm like, okay, just giving this sage future advice. What if he like never says that now out of spite?
He's like, have you ever noticed the proliferation of theme restaurants these days?
Have you ever been to the Chinatown, the major metropolitan area? Like, what? So speaking of Worf, we've got some fucking like this is some tense shit right here where like they're on the bridge, you know, and Worf confronts Picard and he's like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Like, this is some stupid shit. And he's like, you know, Picard's like, you want to destroy the ship and run away, you coward? And he's like, if you were any other man, I would kill you where you stand. And it's just like, holy shit, what if Worf killed him? But like, this whole scene is awesome.
Yeah, it's coming down to it, man. The future of humanity is at stake.
Yeah. At the beginning, we recreated the scene like here between like Lily and Picard. But the beginning of this,
No, we did. That was all original.
oh yeah, cracks me up. She walks in and says, "You son of a bitch." It's like, I don't know what the fuck. It just randomly, I was like, what the fuck? You son of a bitch. And then Captain Picard comes out after his whole flip out scene where he like destroys his little ships. Mr. Worf, I regret some of the things I said to you.
I was like, some?
Yeah, Worf says some, and
like,
I'm like, I'm with Worf here. What the fuck is your problem?
He's like,
dumbass?
not the coward part. I still mean
Yeah,
that.
it's like, you're a fucking pussy. It's like, what an asshole.
I did think it was cool how Riker and Geordi got to go on the ride.
Yes. The magic carpet ride?
Yeah. And it's so funny when James Cromwell's like, engage. And they look at each other like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, it's very cool.
I like to dream. It's like, all I could think of is, yeah, baby, it's a swinging shindig. I'm like, that rocket looks
This is my happening and I'm freaking out, man.
Yeah. I was like, that rocket looks like a huge shaft. 2 balls!
It has a long, smooth shaft.
With 2 balls. This is the same thing they fucking do in every Austin Powers movie, Sharon. It's like...
It does kind of look like that.
yeah.
They should have drove a big boy rocket.
Why don't you fucking just drove it, you piece of shit? Would.
Because you drive rocket.
Picard 316 says, I just fucking drove a fucking rocket.
I'm going to drive this rocket right into space, brother.
Watch out for the cakes, dude. When you make contact with the Vulcans, you're going to be driving that ship 24/7. Oh, man. So there's cool escape pods. I thought those were really cool. They like, come off the side and then they reattach, like, and it's just part of it. Something that I don't know if you ever really realized in the ship because they never use them in the show. Picard is now facing his fears and demons as he strides unwillingly.
And how do you lose a shirt? I forget, but he's like wearing this die-hard John
This is where
McClane
it turns
tank top.
hardcore into like an action film because he literally walks in, like you said, with just a tank top on. And he's like lubed up for some reason.
I'm like, what? That's Picard's entrance music.
Yeah.
Wow!
Yeah! Look at I'm like, business is about to pick up! So Data, like, says, like, he, like, lies and he's like, resistance is futile. I was like, dude, this is so cool. And I was like, Data was a triple agent?
Nice.
Picard looked ripped. It's like, man, they must have been like, hey, Frakes was like, dude, there's going to be a scene in here where you're not going to be wearing like a full shirt. You're going to be like wearing like a wife beater. And he's like, starts fucking doing his delts. So,
Like more like Jack Trick
yeah.
Stewart.
Jack drinks.
That was really bad. I apologize.
So Picard like Mortal Kombat's the Borg Queen. She's like already dead, and he like fucking takes the. So like he takes
he rips the spine.
Yeah, the spine is the only thing that's left of like the fucking Borg Queen, and he's holding it, and it's just like a skull and like a spine, and instead of like crushing the skull, he just like.
Dude, if he crushed the skull, he'd have the strength of like 10 men.
Right, but like how would he be able to crush the spine any easier?
It's like Kano fatality.
Yeah, but it's like just crushing that makes the whole thing shut down. Like I was like,
Apparently.
come on, this is bullshit. This whole movie sucks.
I saw
now.
it happen.
Yeah, that's true. But I just thought it was so ridiculous. It's like, okay, what's the point of fucking this? This shit's like fucking dead as hell, and he's just like stomping a mud hole in it. He's like,
he should have crushed the skull like Terminator 2 style. Like
he's like Broken Skull Ranch. So I got awesome first contact with the Vulcans, and they don't kill them like in Enterprise.
Yeah, it's a great scene.
Yeah.
Followed up by a hilarious scene where he introduces them to rock and roll
Yeah.
and tries to get them to drink.
Yeah. And then it ends with the TNG end credits theme from the show. And it's a perfect TNG film.
I agree. It's my favorite. Although Wrath of Khan is really darn good too. But it's a 9.5.
Yeah, as far as out of the 4 TNG films, it's by and
easily
far.
the best.
It's honestly like if I would be like, you can, watch one of these, this would be by far and away. I'd be like, just watch this one like 20 times. Like, yeah, 9.95.
And for someone who was like didn't know anything about Star Trek,
This
is like a gateway.
Yeah, it sets it up really well too.
It's so entertaining and good.
They retell kind of what happens to Picard becoming a Borg without like retreading old shit. They don't just use clips from the show. They recreate it, but like in a sexy way.
They do it in a sleazy way.
You assimilated, yeah, but you did it in a sleazy way.
You made first contact today.
Yeah. I made a G of gold pressed latinum. Yeah, if you're Quark, you did do it in a sleazy way.
Thanks for picking this movie. It was a gift to me.
I know. I wanted to pick this because
really fun.
I knew you would like it, and I was like, I knew you would fucking hate it.
I liked it. I mean, I hadn't seen it in a long time, and
I don't like it.
I liked it even better than I remembered.
As
so
all the
good.
things that I like ripped on, I mean, it's a perfect film for me. 9.95 is just, they're definitely, like we were talking about, there are scenes here and there that I'm like, I like to joke about and stuff, but
I wish the DS9 and Voyager crews could have got a movie as good as this, like
at all, yeah,
or at all,
yeah. Get rid of Insurrection and Nemesis and make a DS9 movie, make a Voyager movie, seriously, because those movies are fucking. There was no, I mean, like I don't know what they could have done after this, but like, honestly, like, I would have loved to have seen a whole movie just about like the Dominion War, where it was essentially the end of it or something. And, like, all of the crews fucking are in it. Like, TNG, DS9.
The Avengers of Star Trek?
Yeah, and Voyager shows up. So, yeah.
Cool.
Great movie. Great price. B105. So, what are we doing next week?
So,
You like Star Trek Insurrection?
Star Trek Nemesis.
Fuck.
We're going to do another Peter Hyams movie. The director of Outland, which we both
Outland?
And The Relic, which we both kind of thought was okay. But we're going to do the one time he teamed up with Arnold for End of Days.
Nice. I had this on my list.
Dude. Hell yeah.
Because I've never seen this and I really wanted to see it. End of Days. I always get this confused with the movie that Johnny Depp did where it's like a Satan movie.
The Ninth
too.
Gate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're so similar. He's like, get your ass to the fucking shit. Okay, so what are we watching for weird watches?
So, this is kind of a different spin, but because it's a TV movie.
Okay.
The one directorial debut and effort of Arnold Schwarzenegger. He directed a TV movie.
Nice.
Called Christmas in Connecticut in 1992. Well, so random.
I guess it'll be Christmas in fucking February.
We're doing it.
Hell yeah, dude.
So it's Arnold week with
the
badass End of Days and I have no idea.
The glad ass.
Christmas in Connecticut.
It's the glad ass fucking Christmas in Connecticut. It's always fucking time for Christmas, man.
Yeah.
Is Sand Eye Wonder in this?
I have no idea. I know nothing about it.
Dude.
So it's a true weird watch.
So this is essentially, is this like a Hallmark film?
I think it looks kind of like one.
Dude, this is going to be so good. Because if anything,
Arnold made a movie.
If anything, this will be great to rip on. But I don't know. This could be like a new classic. So Christmas in Connecticut, weird watches from Arnold directing, and then Arnold starring in End of Days, where he faces Satan, makes him look like a bitch. So I don't know. I don't know. How do you want to end this?
The way we always do. Bye.
You just be like Scott Steiner. Give me a fucking mic.
Christian Bale. Give me an answer.
It's like what? Give me an answer.
What are you doing? Give me an answer.
Will not sacrifice any more of my.
What the? Damn it. Cut.
Well, at least it happened now.
Any noise she hears.
Now.
No.
Dude, I've wasted too much of my time on that.
Really? What was I supposed to say?
That should just be the end.
Really? Yeah.